Stop buying stuffed animals. Seriously, because once you find out how easy it is to make your own tiny little crocheted ones that look 10 times cuter and cost you almost nothing, you are never going to pay for a plushie again. I'm talking about Amigurumi. These are small crocheted animals that started in Japan and kind of took over the whole crochet world. And honestly, for good reason. They're small, they're satisfying to make, and they're so ridiculously cute that people literally scream when they see them. I've seen it happen. It's not an exaggeration. But here's the thing. A lot of people look at amigurumi and think they're hard. They see these perfect little round bodies, the tiny ears, the little button eyes, and they assume it must take some kind of expert level skill to make them. And I want to completely destroy that idea today because it is just not true. Today, I'm going to walk you through some of the most popular and most beginner-friendly amigurumi animals you can actually make at home right now with basic supplies you probably already have. I'll break down what makes each one a great starting point, what you need to watch out for, and how to make them look really good, even if you've only been crocheting for a few months. So let's get into it. Before we even talk about the actual animals, you need to know one thing. Amigurumi is built almost entirely on one stitch and one technique. The stitch is the single crochet, and the technique is called working in the round, also called a magic ring or magic circle. If you can do those two things, you can make literally every single animal I'm going to talk about today. That's it. That's the foundation. Everything else is just assembling pieces together. The magic ring might feel a little weird the first time. You loop the yarn around your fingers, pull through, and create a tight center that doesn't leave a big hole in the middle of your piece. Some people find it a little tricky at first, so if you're struggling with it, just practice it a few times on its own before you jump into a full pattern. 5 minutes of practice and you'll have it down. Okay, now for the animals. The first one, and probably the most popular beginner amigurumi in the whole world, is the bear. A simple little round-bodied bear with tiny ears, small arms, small legs, and a little muzzle on the front. Bears are perfect to start with because the shape is very forgiving. It's mostly round pieces. The body is a sphere, the head is a sphere, the ears are small flat circles. You just crochet rounds, increase, keep going, decrease, and you have a ball. Do that enough times in different sizes, and suddenly you've got a whole bear sitting in your hand. The muzzle is where a lot of beginners get nervous, but honestly, it's just a slightly flattened small circle that you sew onto the face and then embroider a little nose and mouth onto. Use a yarn needle and some darker yarn and you're done. Eyes are usually safety eyes, which are plastic eyes with a backing piece that locks them in from behind. You push them through the fabric before you finish stuffing and closing the head, and they click into place. They make such a big difference in how finished and professional your work looks. The second animal I'd recommend is the bunny. Bunnies are just bears with longer ears. Genuinely, that's the main difference. The body, the head, the arms, and legs are basically the same construction. You just make two longer oval shapes for the ears instead of the small circles. Some people like to add a little inner ear detail with a different color, which you either crochet separately and sew on, or you can embroider it. Bunnies are extremely popular, and they look really impressive, even though the construction is very similar to the bear. One tip with bunnies specifically, the ears tend to flop over unless you sew them on at just the right angle or use a slightly firmer yarn. If you want them to stand up straight, you can insert a small piece of wire inside the ear. Just fold the wire back on itself so there are no sharp ends, and that gives it structure. Totally optional, but it makes a huge difference if you're going for that classic upright-eared bunny look. The third animal is the cat. Cats have little pointed ears, which just means instead of a circle, you work a small triangle shape and sew it on. A lot of cat amigurumi also have this slightly more oval or elongated head shape compared to bears and bunnies, and that small change in the number of increase rounds is what creates it. Cat patterns almost always have some face detail too, embroidered whiskers made by just pulling a length of yarn through the muzzle area, and sometimes closed sleepy eyes, which are just a few stitches across the face. Sleepy-eyed cats are honestly one of the most popular styles right now, and they look incredible. If you want to make a more playful version, you can do safety eyes and add a little open mouth smile embroidery below the nose. There's something about a tiny crocheted cat with a huge smile that makes people lose their minds. Post it online and watch what happens. The fourth animal I have to mention is the duck or chick. These are great because they're even simpler than the others. The body is round, there's a small beak, which is just a tiny oval sewed on, and you can add little wings, which are small, flat, oval shapes. Ducks are usually bright yellow, which gives them that instant baby chick look. And they're one of those amigurumi that even someone in their first week of crocheting can pull off. A lot of people make these for Easter or as baby shower gifts, and they go over incredibly well. The fifth animal on this list is the elephant, which is a little step up from the others, but still very manageable. The main challenge with elephants is the trunk, which is a longer tube that you sew onto the front of the face and shape slightly downward. The ears on elephants are larger, flat pieces that you sew onto the sides, and those take a little more time, but they're not hard. The overall shape of the elephant is really endearing, and once you finish one, people always ask you where you bought it. Telling them you made it is one of the best feelings. The last one I want to mention is the octopus, and before you think that sounds complicated, it's actually one of the most beginner-friendly amigurumi shapes out there, because the body is literally just a ball, a big, round ball, and the legs are just long tubes that you crochet separately and sew underneath. 8 tubes, yes, but each one is fast and simple. There's no complex shaping involved, no tricky construction, and the final result looks so unique and fun. Mini crochet octopuses have been all over social media for the past couple of years, and for good reason. One thing that really elevates every single one of these animals, no matter which one you make, is using the right yarn weight and hook size together. Most amigurumi patterns use a worsted weight yarn with a slightly smaller hook than what the yarn label recommends. The reason is that you want a tight stitch that doesn't have gaps, because if there are gaps, the stuffing shows through. Using a smaller hook gives you that tight, firm fabric that looks really clean and professional. Stuffing is the other thing people get wrong. Use good quality polyfill stuffing, and don't be afraid to really pack it in. Understuffed amigurumi end up looking floppy and sad. You want the shape to be firm and hold its form. When you're closing the last few stitches, poke in any last bits of stuffing with your finger or a pencil before you pull the yarn tight. The last thing I'll say is this: don't worry about your first one being perfect. It won't be. That's not the point. The point is that you finish it, you learn from it, and your second one is better. Then your third one is better than that. That's how this goes. Every single person who crochets those perfect little animals that make you want to cry from how cute they are started with one that looked a little rough. They just kept going. Pick one of these animals, find a simple pattern online, get your yarn, and make it this week. That's it. If you want to keep learning, watch this next.